CV Check. I'm Lily Fisher, and today we're exploring the inspirational new Australian organisation, Jobs for Australia. The organisation is a not-for-profit, and it was created to provide job search advice and coaching to job seekers affected by COVID-19. Run by a group of volunteers from the talent acquisition and HR industries, the program also offers additional assistance and resources to companies that are hiring and those that are reducing staff. Joining us today to discuss the program are talent acquisition experts and Jobs for Australia volunteers, Pavi Iyer, Rebecca Powell and Amy Thomas. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Morning.
Hi.
So before we discuss the organisation, tell me, ladies, how have each of you been professionally affected by COVID-19?
So I'll kick it off. So I was made redundant at the end of March, early April. Fortunately, unlike many people, my redundancy wasn't because of COVID, but that accelerated the process. And at the same time, Andrea Kirby was talking about how those of us in the talent acquisition community could maybe make best use of our time. I've got plenty of it right now. So I was more than happy to get involved with her early on with Jobs for Australia.
I might go next. So for me, I actually started a new job in January. And then, as with everyone, recruitment sort of slowed down and then it came to a stop. So unfortunately, my role was ended at the end of March. And especially because it was for an unknown period of time, I was let go from there. So Andrea had reached out at that pretty much the same day, actually, funnily enough, and she'd asked if I'd be interested in joining her in pulling together, Jobs for Australia movement, and here I am.
And my circumstances were that I was made redundant in February. And I thought, oh, well, that's fine. It's the beginning of the year. It's a good time to start looking for a job. And everything was fine for a month or so. And then, of course, COVID hit. So it has really sort of slowed down the process. Roles went on hold. Some roles got cancelled. So it was it slowed me down in terms of where I wanted to be. But equally, this opportunity presented itself, and it's just been amazing to really be able to assist in this time and really put, the talent acquisition background that I've got to good use.
Sounds like there's a lot of people that are actually in the same boat as you guys. So, Pavi, let's launch straight into it. Why was Jobs for Australia created, and where did this idea come from?
So the idea is basically the brainchild of Andrea Kirby, Rich Lewis from Smart Recruiters, and Justine Figo. So they were looking to set up an avenue where they could help job seekers that have been impacted by COVID-19, with the goal of also, on the other hand, supporting the in-house TA and HR people who are also displaced by giving them an opportunity to also use their expertise to help the job seekers. So like we mentioned earlier, the three of them had set out to pull this together, and they started reaching out to the TA community to ask for volunteers to help them set up the systems and to actually bring it all together, and mainly looking at targeting those impacted by COVID-19 to assist them to build up their skills, especially on the volunteer aspect of things, to help them continue building their skills and expertise, and also give them a purpose while they were in between roles as well.
So Rebecca, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what services Jobs for Australia can offer to both job seekers and organisations at this time.
Yeah, sure. So I should say at the outset that our focus right now is on job seekers. We're currently not doing any recruitment or filling jobs for companies. That's not to say there aren't jobs, there are heaps, but our focus is very much on job seekers. And where we're providing support is around CV reviewing, so CVs and cover letters, giving them pointers, tips and tricks on how to create a compelling CV, looking at their personal or professional brands, their value statements, looking at their LinkedIn profiles and content, also doing interview tips and tricks, and then just general advice on even where to start looking. It can be pretty daunting for a lot of people who perhaps have been working in the same company for 10, 15 years. They haven't had to think about this, and knowing where to start can be the toughest first step. So it's quite a broad array of content that we cover. We've got a lot of resources on the website, on the jobsforaustralia.com website. And then we provide group coaching. So today, Amy and I will be doing a group webinar on interview preparation. And we also do one-to-one coaching. And that can be on whatever the candidate needs help with.
So I guess off the back of that, who in the community are you actually supporting at this time?
Anyone, really. Anyone within Australia whose job has been impacted by the pandemic. It could be people who simply haven't been able to find work because companies have stopped hiring. It could be people who've been made redundant as a result of the pandemic. We're finding students coming out of uni are struggling to get that first foothold on the job ladder. So anyone within Australia is more than welcome to register their details with us.
Amy, maybe can you talk a little bit to how this great initiative actually works?
Yeah, sure. So it's really easy. So a candidate will register their interest through the Jobs for Australia website. So they go in and they put in their details, provide us with their contact details. Most candidates are also giving us their resume. We then have a team that actually looks at each of those applicants or profiles and then matches those individuals with a volunteer. Where we can, we're trying to be as tailored with that process as we can so that the candidate's getting, you know, a match, for example, with where the person's based. If they're in Sydney, they hopefully will get a volunteer that's based in Sydney. And also we're trying to match the expertise of the volunteer. So if they're in IT and we've got an IT person who's worked in IT recruitment, for example, we'll try and pair them together where we can. So they're really getting the value out of that. The volunteer then takes ownership of that individual and manages them through the process. So they reach out to them and then work out what that individual needs. So we direct them to the online resources. If they need a one-on-one coaching session, we establish that. And then we make them aware of all the other offerings we've got, like group coaching sessions, etc. So it's a very personalised service to the individual.
So in regard to the volunteers you were talking about, why are TA and recruitment professionals volunteering their time? Like what's in it for them?
Yep. Look, there's a heap of stuff in it for the volunteers. Like, I've got so much out of it. I think the first thing is keeping your skills current, particularly if you're not working at the moment. So we're using a raft of really whiz-bang recruitment tools. So, you know, I've learned a new recruitment system, which has been amazing. A lot of work around coaching. So obviously the service is quite personalised, so very much enhancing your coaching skills and getting a lot more experience with one-on-one coaching. Presenting, so getting the opportunity to present to people and build programs for that. Building your own personal brand. So because we're a not-for-profit, we're doing a lot of social media push. So a lot of us have had the opportunity to record videos and put up different posts. Giving back to the community. I mean, it's such an amazing and unique opportunity to be able to actually provide, you know, career coaching support and use your core skills that you've gained over your career. And the networking, like for me, that's probably been one of the biggest wins. Just being able to work really closely with the network. The talent acquisition network is very strong as it is, but just to actually work together has been amazing, and the sense of purpose and the confidence I think we've all gained out of this has been remarkable.
Sounds amazing. So, Rebecca, I guess the question that's on everyone's mind at the moment, which industries are actually hiring during this time?
There's actually quite a few companies hiring. So companies nationwide, Ozpost is looking for a lot of people. Amazon, there's suddenly a surge in parcel post. Across, the retail sector, Coles, Woolies, Aldi, all these companies are hiring. But there are also smaller organizations looking for more specialist skills, companies looking for software developers, companies like Atlassian and Canva in Sydney. Everybody's favorite isolation buddy, TikTok, are also hiring. So they've obviously enjoyed a bit of a boom recently. If people go to the government jobs hub, they can see a lot of jobs. The ATO's hiring heaps of people, as you can imagine. And look, there are a lot of places, a lot of businesses hiring. We've got some of those jobs, links to those jobs on Jobs for Australia. There's a number of resources on jobsforaustralia.com where people can work out how to start looking for jobs. So yes, it's tough. There's a lot of people being made redundant, but a lot of companies are hiring and providing training as well so that you can pivot your career as needs be.
Amazing. So, Amy, what will become of Jobs for Australia following COVID-19? Are there plans to keep this amazing organisation going?
Yeah. Look, for us, it's really early days. Like, we've only really been in operation for a couple of months. So it's hard for us to give you a definite yes or no, but certainly the feeling amongst our organisation is that we want to be around to support people through this situation, and it's likely to have impacts for quite some time. So we would expect that our services will be available for a reasonable period from now at the very least.
Fantastic. So I guess it would be really nice if any of you could share maybe a Jobs for Australia success story.
Yeah, I might jump in with that. So we've had quite a few success stories that we do share on our LinkedIn and social media pages as well. I think one of the most standout ones we've had recently has been one of our volunteers, Steve. So he had a job seeker who was really frustrated and fed up, and quite a lot of our job seekers are in that they're not getting noticed, they're not getting interviews, because obviously as they apply for jobs, there's 150 other people that are also applying, and then just getting zero contact post applications. So he had received coaching from Steve, was a bit skeptical at first in terms of getting guidance and getting feedback on his CV. But he applied all those changes, and he'd applied for a job last week for the first time with the suggested changes in his CV, and was actually called back for an interview. So that was a great, great win for us as well, in terms of showing how much impact we're actually having on the community. It's still sort of early days, and there's a lot of candidates out there in the job hunt. So the feedback that we're getting from our candidates are that we're able to give them a sense of purpose at least, or give them confidence, and give them that ability to keep going with their job search. Although the timing's not probably right for a lot of people, they're using that time to get the coaching from us to be able to improve on their CV, to improve even things like personal branding, to be able to articulate their personal branding more precisely. So I think in terms of what we're being able to help them with, they're valuing that practical and friendly advice that they're getting from their career coaches. So there's quite a lot of good stories coming out of it, which makes us feel like we're at least contributing positively to the community as well, which is great.
Of course, it sounds brilliant what you're doing. Maybe Pavi, to wrap things up, how can other TAs and recruiters who are in between jobs, how can they get involved?
Yep. Well, the first point of call is definitely sign up for our volunteer community, which is on our Jobs for Australia website if you're interested. At the moment, we've got over 200 TA and HR professionals who've already expressed interest. So we've had a great outpouring of support. But, you know, we're trying to utilize them as best we can as well. So we're reaching out to a few people to come on as guest speakers for our webinars, or even jump into our coaching and skills videos that we're putting out on a weekly basis. So they're able to lend their support, their expertise and advice as well. So bear with us while we get through that backlog of people as well, because there are, and we've loved it, but there are lots of people that have reached out in this time, which we've really appreciated, that the community has come together like this.
Well, ladies, this really is just such a fantastic initiative that's surfaced from some truly trying times. And while this year has been so much more challenging than most for job seekers and organisations across the country, your efforts to support and lend your expertise really cannot go unrecognised. So Pavi, Rebecca and Amy, thank you guys so much for all the work you're doing with Jobs for Australia. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you guys have any questions regarding Jobs for Australia, or you're a job seeker yourself looking to better connect with the current job market, just visit the website at jobsforaustralia.com. Thanks for tuning in. Here at CV Check, we look forward to seeing you next time.